Martha's fingers brushed dust off a cracked field notebook wedged behind her rain boots, forgotten since Jim passed. 57 and suddenly untethered. She'd spent months staring evergreen hikes on her screen, paralyzed by headlines screaming extinction. But here, in smudged pencil, lay proof. Western Tanager Volunteer Park may a lifeline. Next morning, she marched into drizzle with binoculars, chasing that old thrill. By week's end, 6 women clustered under maples, whispering as crows heckled. Vibes shifted. Martha's fingers brushed dust off a cracked field notebook, its spine still stubbornly holding memories of her 20s, back when scribbling bird sightings felt like saving world. Now, 57, climate headlines made her chest tighten like a too small sweater. She'd stopped hiking evergreen trails, stopped believing one person's attention mattered. But that morning, a Stellar's jay had shrieked outside her window like it was personally offended by her inertia. Seattle's urban birdwatching collective met under Fremont Bridge, a ragtag group armed with binoculars and dark humor. Martha hesitated on her first visit, convinced she'd stick out like a heron in a parking lot. But then she fumbled her coffee, spilling it down her raincoat, and a woman with neon green sneakers laughed. "Honey, that's just baptism by caffeine." Vibes were unexpectedly light. Tracking crows became her rebellion against eco-grief. Each inky wing beat in her notebook chipped glacier of helplessness inside her. She learned their routes, their grudges, how they stole fries with precision of jewel thieves. One afternoon, watching a fledgling clumsily faceplant into a puddle, Martha snorted, realizing fear, like fledgling flight, was just part of the process. Her old notebook filled with fresh ink, its pages now holding more than data. They held proof. Paying attention was its own kind of courage. World wouldn't be saved by her scribbles, but she might be. And that, for now, was enough. Martha's fingers brushed dust off a cracked field notebook, its spine stiff with disuse. 57 years of city living had dulled her connection to wild things, but climate headlines left her restless, itching to do something beyond doom scrolling. That afternoon, a flyer for Puget Sound bird nerds snagged her sleeve mid-stride. Urban wildlife tracking, beginner's welcome, its edges frayed by rain. She pocketed it before second-guessing could kick in. First meeting vibes were equal parts intimidating and absurd. A silver-haired woman named Gloria wielded binoculars like a pro, rattling off sparrow subspecies while woman fumbled with lens caps. "You'll get there," Gloria grinned, nudging a spare field guide into her hands. Birds don't care if your notes look like grocery lists. Martha's early entries were chaotic. Brown bird, loud, maybe angry. But Gloria's margin doodles, tiny arrows pointing to wing bars, cheeky notes like "this one's a diva," made it feel less like failure, more like discovery. Seattle's drizzle became her ally. Weekend hikes through Discovery Park, evergreens dripping with old-growth wisdom, taught her to spot subtle shifts. Juncos arriving earlier, robins nesting lower. Her notebook evolved too. Not just species tallies, but inked observations about how flickers danced in parking lot maples, how crows heckled her when she forgot trail mix. One page held a pressed maple leaf beside Gloria, says climate grief is love with nowhere to go. So we give a path. By summer, she led her own small group, retirees, a barista, a 10-year-old with encyclopedic hummingbird knowledge. When a developer threatened a blackberry thicket where towhees nested, they rallied with data, petitions, and homemade pies. Gloria's idea. Nobody ignores pie. Victory tasted like blackberry jam, sticky and sweet. Years later, long after Gloria's knees retired her from hikes, Martha would find her mentor's old notebook tucked inside a gift. For when you need reminding, wings always find wind. Flipping through its dog-eared pages, she recognized same messy joy she'd once judged in herself. Somewhere between scribbled notes and crow laughter, she'd learned that healing wasn't about fixing whole world, just tending your corner of it, one feather at a time. Martha's fingers brushed dust off a cracked field notebook, its spine stubborn as her own 57-year-old knees. 3 weeks since rain washed out her first solo bird count, and doubt had nested in her chest like a stubborn crow. Seattle's drizzle mocked her through streaked windows until a notification buzzed. Urban Avians Collective, 6 a.m., Union Bay Wetlands. She snorted. Dawn patrol with strangers? Last month's misstep, logging a crow as a raven, still burned. But Notebook's blank pages glared harder. Pulling on mud-crusted boots, she channeled her mother's old quip. Honey, even evergreens shed needles. Wetland reeds whispered as strangers materialized, binoculars glinting. A tattooed teen handed her a thermos. Extra kick for rookies. Martha sipped, bitter brew scalding away excuses. Their leader, a retired teacher with eagle-eyed focus, demonstrated app logging with hands steady as Martha's weren't. By noon, her notebook bristled with scribbles. Boosh-tit flock, 12, maybe 13. Anna's hummingbird, dive-bombing rivals. Each mark felt like prying loose a brick from wall of eco-grief she'd built since last wildfire season. Laughter erupted when she mistook a cedar waxwing for a stray ornament. Dry humor sticking better than apologies. Back home, she cross-referenced entries with dogged precision, knuckles protesting. One page bore a coffee ring now, warping ink like climate data graphs she'd obsessed over. But here, her shaky tally mattered. Notebook, once a relic, became a battleground where curiosity outmuscled despair. Rain returned as she plotted next week's route. This time, Martha left window open. Wind riffled pages like wings, carrying away what no longer served her. Martha's fingers brushed dust off a cracked field notebook, its spine splitting like old bark. 57 years of grocery lists, half-finished poems, and now this. Her shaky sketches of crows perched on power lines, their oil-slick feathers catching Seattle's pewter light. Climate dread had hollowed her out last winter, but spring brought stubbornness. If doom-scrolling wasn't cutting it, maybe counting sparrows would. She started small, scribbling sightings on her balcony, then sneaking into alleys to track urban hawks. Notebook became a shield against despair, each page proof that life clung on, even here. When a post about her records blew up in a local birding group, she panicked until replies flooded in. Teach us. Folks wanted in on her weird, wonderful rebellion. So she rented a community center room, expecting 3 nerds and a yawn. Instead, chairs filled with silver-haired hikers, young moms with binoculars, even a gruff guy in a tree's overrated hoodie who smirked through her intro. Martha's palms sweat. Then she flipped open her notebook, revealing a pressed maple leaf beside a tally of fledgling robins. This, she said, tapping smudged numbers, is how we fight back. Magic hit when she passed out homemade checklists. Skeptic rolled his eyes until she showed him a grainy phone shot of a barred owl nesting in a parking garage. No way, he muttered, leaning in. Crowd erupted. Someone shouted eagle. False alarm, just a very ambitious seagull. But vibes were electric. By sunset, they'd formed Puget Sound Urban Bird Collective, with she accidentally in charge. Weeks later, her notebook starred in a museum exhibit on citizen science. A reporter asked how it felt, going from nobody to nature hero. Martha almost choked on her tea. Hero? Please. She just traded fretting for feathers. But watching strangers pore over her messy charts, pointing their entries with pride, warmth bloomed in her chest. Wind rattled windows, carrying salt and evergreen whispers. She grinned. I finally belong here. Martha's cracked field notebook, once abandoned on a shelf, now bulged with scribbles, wing patterns, crow antics, a haiku about a stubborn hummingbird. 57, she'd traded doom-scrolling for dawn patrols with her urban bird-watching collective, Rainier Ravens. Their mission? Track feathery neighbors, log shifts, laugh seagull drama. Seattle's evergreens whispered back. Hikes became treasure hunts. She'd started solo, shaky from eco-grief, but soon her odd habit, mimicking owl hoots to calm jittery sparrows, drew others. Retired teachers, baristas, a punk rock grandma with binoculars slung like a guitar. Together, they turned parking lots into classrooms, counting species like hopeful accountants. Martha's notebook evolved, Not just data, but stories. A fledgling's first flight, sketched in margin. A meme-worthy pigeon in a rain poncho, okay, a leaf. When wildfires choked sky, they pivoted. Distributed air quality sensors, mapped safe routes for nesting pairs. Martha guided newbies with a conductor's flair. Slow steps, folks. We're not chasing, we're guesting. Vibes shifted. Grief didn't vanish, but it grew legs, walked them toward purpose. By summer's end, their findings nudged city planners to protect a scrubby, vacant lot, turned sanctuary. Martha's notebook? Now a baton. She left it open on park benches, pages tagged, add your wonder here. CTA, slip on sneakers, snag a pen. Your corner of worlds waiting for eyes like yours.